Traveled the country and has personally visited every county in New York State, listening to people's concerns. The Sharp Way is a show where answers, solutions, and common ground can be found so that together we can forge a new way forward. The Sharp Way is the way to mutual respect, where no one has to convert to be heard, because you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want, as long as you aren't forcing your beliefs on others. Welcome to Sharp Way Radio.
Oh, yes, it is Larry Sharpe here on Sharpe Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York. The number to call after the break, 585 346 3000. I often tell stories about my childhood when I chat with you on Tuesdays. And I think today I'm going to do it again. And it is one that some of you may have heard in the past if you're listening often, but it really lands really well right now for me. And when I was a kid growing up in the Bronx, my father was not the best husband. That's what I would say to my mom. He often would spend his paycheck on things that he shouldn't spend his paycheck on. And sometimes come home, this is back in the 70s, and he would go to the record store. Yes, there was a record store. He would buy records. For those of you who may be younger, those are actual, what we used to listen to music on. And he wouldn't have enough money for the rent. And my mom would say, "Did you pay the rent?" He'd say, "No, some new albums came out, so I bought them instead." She'd be insanely unhappy. Of course, anybody would. And they would argue over that. They would argue over his priorities. And his priorities were not good. He worried about buying cool clothes. He worried about having a cool car. In the 70s in the Bronx, we had a Lincoln Continental Mark IV, one of the coolest cars to have. Couldn't drive it, couldn't afford to put gas in it. But we had cool things here or there. This was my dad's things that he cared about. He would buy model trains. We couldn't pay the rent. He was completely unfocused on the things that really mattered. And him and my mom fought off it. And at one point, she was tired of it. And it finally came to a head. And my mom was going to leave him. And I know that. I remember. I was very little, probably 7, maybe in that area, 8. And she was done. She was done struggling. She was done with his issues. And he said he was going to leave her. I'm sorry. She said she was going to leave him. And he said, "No, you can't leave me ever." She said, "No, I'm going to leave you. I'm done with this. I'm done." And I'm going to be very forward. He threatened to kill her. True story. My father was in law enforcement, so he actually had a firearm. And she said, "You'll never find me, and you'll never find Larry." Wow. Was that brave of her? Was that forward of her? A gamble. But that's what it took, because my father turned around almost like night and day. It was as if a switch in his head was clicked, and boom, he was a different person. He believed her. He thought she would do it. He completely changed almost overnight. All of a sudden, now he was coming home after work, putting his paycheck in with my mom's money so he could pay bills, getting rid of the debt that we had. And within a couple of months, he took all those records that he bought and all that equipment that he bought that was cool, the hi-fi stuff back in the 70s that he had spent all that money on, and they put it together and they started a DJ job. And he said he started to DJ on the weekends to make extra money to put away. He took that stuff he bought to play around and be Mr. Cool Guy, and he put it to work to make some money. And my mom and I, we went out and we started cleaning offices and cleaning houses to make money on the weekends also. And we started making gas. We focused on what was important for our family to get ourselves out of the South Bronx, which is where I grew up in as a kid. We didn't want to be there. We wanted to change and have a better life and make things better. And we were completely unfocused. Well, my mom kind of was, but I wasn't. My dad wasn't. But once we buckled down, within about 3 years, we had made enough money. I had enough money put away and actually had some credit. Hadn't had that in a while. Had some credit to where we bought a house on Long Island, which to me was a huge step up from where I was. Why do I tell that story? Because I feel like New York State's in the same spot, to be very full with you. And I feel like I'm the mom. I'm my mom now going, will you guys stop doing all the dumb stuff? Will you stop not focusing on what's most important? We have to buckle down. We've got to work hard. We've got to make changes here. And it's going to take years. If it took my family 3 years to get our act together, imagine how long it will take a state or a city. Imagine how much time and energy it will take to turn this place right now. My dad changed his mind almost overnight. Big swap for him. Big change for him. He looked at his future and thought, oh my God, are we thinking that? Now, before with my dad, was my dad in any different situation the 10 minutes before my mom said what she said? No, he was in the same position. The same position he was 10 minutes before she said what she said. But at one point, reality hit him. Why didn't it? Was my dad a dumb man? I don't think so. Was he somehow ideologically, predisposed to not believe that? No. He was enjoying other things. He literally wasn't focusing on what was important. Distraction was completely making it okay to other things. I don't have to worry about things because right now I'm having fun. Right now I've got my cool friends in my cool car playing with my cool music, being cool guy. So why do I care? I'm being cool guy. And I got a wife and a kid. I got it all. And then mom said, that's all going away. You better change something or all that's going away. Mom's paycheck, because she worked. Your son, me, and your woman, her, are going to walk out that door and you're not going to be a cool guy anymore. And once it hit him, he turned. What's going to turn this state? What's going to turn New York City, which is a huge chunk of this state, and gets all the press? Because right now, we are happy to be speaking about everything other than the most important things. Let's talk about the war in Ukraine. Let's talk about the war in Israel. Let's talk about the protests on the colleges. Talk about all these things. And to be clear, are these things important? Of course they are. They are important. I don't want to, it's not black and white. Just like with my father, should you have good times with your friends? Should you have some cool things that you enjoy? Of course you should. Everybody should. I hope the whole world does. But is that the number one thing in your world? Is that what you've got to focus on more than anything else? They might go, Larry, you're saying that your dad needed to focus on the money. And that's not cool, focusing on the money. I'm not actually saying that. I'm saying what he had to focus on was his family. Now, that included money, as it always does. It isn't only money. He had a wife who was ready to leave him. His family was about to fall apart. He had to focus on his family. He didn't do that. Didn't do that. My mom made him. She showed him. And he did that. What is going to get us to stop focusing on the things that are always every place else? Now, again, I'm not saying the wars overseas aren't important. They are. But compared to the average New Yorker being able to pay their rent, being able to keep their family together, being able to go to school and get a decent education, What are we focusing on? Well, Larry, we can focus internally then. True, but then what do we focus on? We focus on culture war issues. We're worried about culture war issues. Are they important? Of course they are. Culture war is important. Is it more important than all the stores in New York City that are going out of business that can't service people? So now the average person who was already almost in a food desert is now in a food desert. Or when you get out of the city, go upstate New York, where there's only one big thing in any given town. And if that one thing collapses, the entire town collapses. Is it more important than that? No. These are side issues. Side issues that make us feel good. You know, people often wonder why. Why would so many people jump on these culture war issues or this Ukraine issue or Israel? Why would they do that when they're personally struggling? There are a lot of people who are struggling, but they'll jump on either online or they'll physically go to a place or they'll be out in the streets. Why? Dude, your family's collapsing. Girlfriend, where's your family? Young person, aren't you about to be $50,000 to $60,000 in student debt you're going to be paying for the next 30, 40 years? Isn't it about to happen to you? And you don't have a job prospect anywhere. Why are you doing this? They want purpose. They want something to focus on desperately, other than the most important things, which is our communities, which is our families. Again, before people yell at me, I'm not saying these other things aren't important. Of course they are. But what we find ourselves doing is now trying to become martyrs for some cause that is nice, important, but not critical. If you're going to get nailed to the cross, do it for your wife, do it for your husband, do it for your children, do it for your family, do it for your community. Why would you do it? For something that's, maybe 3 months ago you never heard of. Maybe 6 months ago you never heard of. Or more important, even if you solve that issue, let's say you going out and getting on board on this thing, this culture war issue, this physical war issue, you actually make impact and you solve it. Are we any better? You got to come home to your family at one point anyway. Why don't we focus on that? Am I wrong? You can tell me. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe, WYSL, Rochester, New York, Sharpe Way Radio. Back with your calls and the chat. I see you after the break.
Introducing a sobering and unavoidable truth. The latest advancements in artificial intelligence have made cyber attacks easier than ever before. Cyber criminals are relentlessly targeting your business right now, seeking the tiniest opening in your defenses to drain your accounts and steal sensitive data. Your finances and your customers' trust are on the line. Call the experts at Simple Tech Innovations now at 585-999-TECH to secure your business today. Don't wait until it's too late. Make the call today. 585-999-TECH.
To live the quality of life we deserve in truth and freedom, informed by our Constitution, our laws, and traditions, we need to pick the best leaders possible. Recent experience certainly illustrates that. Free and accurate
Have you been
elections are
following
essential
the whole
if we're going to
Sandra
restore our
Dorley
society
thing?
and safeguard our rights. New York Citizens Audit is a volunteer, nonpartisan
I'm surprised
group
you
which has
haven't
been
heard about
lobbying
it.
for open source
Sandra
audits of
Dorley,
State
the
Board of
Monroe
Elections
County
and
District
reform of the
Attorney
electoral
that
process
refused
statewide.
to
Did you know
pull over
Citizens
when
Audit
she
has
was...
uncovered over 1 million felony violations of election
Yeah,
law,
well,
that in 2020 there were
Hochul has...
625,000 more voter registrations than
all you have
existing
to do is
voting age
just
citizens
Google
in just
Sandra
6 New
Dorley
York
and
counties,
Hochul
that
and
there were
you'll find out more.
338,000 more votes cast than voters who voted. These are just a few shocking examples of the
I'm not
urgent
sure
need
about
for
that,
reform.
but
You
well,
can help.
Hochul is recommending
Visit
that
auditny.com and learn the
newly
facts,
formed
how to
commission that
volunteer,
all the
and make a
DAs
difference
were
in your
against
community. Again,
look into
volunteer,
this.
donate, or spread the word. Start at auditny.com.
Stand by.
That's auditny.com.
Sharpe Radio on the WYSL stations.
Yes, it is Larry Sharpe here on Sharpe Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York, 585-346-3000. I have been speaking about what we should be focusing on. What is our priority? And why do so many New Yorkers, and believe it or not, politicians, happy to be talking about other things and not the real things, the hard things that make us really have to buckle down and change? So, yes. So Michael Voss is watching. He says, New York State is happy to be talking about college pro-Hamas protests instead of illegal aliens and their cost of infrastructure and debt. You know what, Mike? It's so funny you say that. Where's migrants in the news cycle now? You're right. They went away. I guess they all went back home. I didn't know that. All the migrants went home, I guess. So, yes, I agree completely. You are also not hearing much about crime anymore. You're not hearing much. This is absorbing the entire news day for a lot of people. Not everything, obviously, but it's dominating, particularly at the national level. But New York State's happy to talk about this, of course. And they can blame one side or the other, right? And they can say, oh, it's all the Democrats' fault, all Republicans' fault, or, right? Oh, Israelis so bad, or Hamas so bad, or whatever. They can just pick a side. And guess what? Neither side is them. And they're not accountable. And they can spend all their time doing the most important thing they want to do, which is virtue signal. They pick their side. And the worst part is, of all of this, I would bet that at least half these politicians, if not more, actually don't care at all. Don't care at all. They go, what side is the right side for my donors? Oh, that side? Yeah, I support that side. And so someone might say, why? I don't know. Because my donors say so? I'm not paying attention. I don't actually care. And I would bet at least half feel that way. It's a very valid point. Harold says, New York State is in the toilet for sure. Democrats seem to like to ruin things everywhere. Well, here's what I would try to make a distinction between Democratic voters and Democratic leadership. The Democratic leadership just wants to grift. I think Republican leadership often too. I don't think it's just Democrats. Most politicians in New York State specifically don't believe anything can be changed or don't even want to. So why bother? Let's just grift. And the voters are desperate. In fact, what you're seeing now is more voters just check out or become independents, which I am very happy about. On a personal note, very happy to see that. In New York State now, there are more independents than there are Republicans. If I remember, the last time I checked was almost 6 million. Is that right? Democrats, I think, 2.5 million Republicans, and 3.5 million independents. I think it's in that area. Last time I checked, it was in that area. So it's about that. It's almost 3-1 Democrat to Republican, almost. And more leaving. So yeah, I think you're right. Sam says, do you mean turnstile jumpers isn't the most important thing to focus on? Well, to be forward with you, Sam, do we want to stop turnstile jumpers? We do. That's a thing we do want to do, yes. But is it more important than stopping people from being thrown onto the tracks or being stabbed or shot? No. Having a safe and viable system? No, that isn't the focus. Do you want to have people being punished for that's basically stealing? Sure, you do. But is that the number one thing? To your point? No. But when we watched, as we had to put, and again, if you don't remember this, literally the National Guard into the New York State subway system, literally the next week, we're going to focus on turnstile jumpers. That's our priority. They literally said that, Sam, you're right. Wait a minute. You had to put armed guards, the National Guard, the Army basically, into the subway system. And your problem is turnstile jumpers. Perfect example of what I was talking about. It really is important. Fred says, my wife of 40 years has always been my Jiminy Cricket of finances. Okay, Fred, you just gave your age and my age away. Yes, Jiminy Cricket, Disney character from Pinocchio. For those of you who did not get that reference, she keeps us focused on finances. New York State should take her lead. Now, this is the problem that we have, Fred. There are a lot of people who will say, and they'll look at you and go, Fred, you don't get it. See, Fred, you don't understand. It's not like a family. This is a state. It's completely different. And they are right and wrong. They are right in that it's very different. That's true. But finances is still finances. That doesn't change. No doubt, if I'm a young single guy, maybe living at home with my mom, my finances are very different than if, say, I'm a married guy, divorced with an ex-wife, a wife, 2 kids from the first marriage, 2 kids from the second marriage, a business, and my wife works. Way different finances, 100%. But to your point, Fred, it's still finances, right? Math is still math, regardless of how complicated it may be. 2 plus 2 still equals 4, regardless of whether that's at a Fortune 50 company or some dude living in his basement. 2 plus 2, still 4. And debt, unless you have a plan, and again, I'm not against debt. There are many good reasons for someone to go into debt. If you've got a plan, something going on, debt can be very important and valuable to you. But if you just, like my dad, I like this cool car, let's go into debt. That's a problem. I think there's new records coming out, let's buy all of them. That's a problem. So yes, Fred, I think you're right. And sometimes, well, let me go back another way if I could. There's a second part. And as my day job, as those of you know, when I'm not doing this, I'm a business consultant. And one of the things I will tell entrepreneurs and even sometimes CFOs and CTOs, saving money is good, right? It's a good thing, obviously. But you can never save your way to success. It's not how it works. You can never save your way to success. There's always got to be a way of investing in some way, whether you're investing in a thing, investing in yourself, investing in your family. You've got to be able to invest in some way, depending upon who you are and what's happening in your life, obviously. But if you can't invest in something or someone or some things or some ones, you are not going to be successful. You cannot save your way to success. So both sides of that. You got to have somebody who knows how to invest, either in things or people or both, and someone who can save. I think both work. So yes. Latina Brown is listening today. Good afternoon, she says. How are you? Absolutely, 100%. So I do think what John says here is important. He says, our priorities should start locally, then county, then state, etc., just like you've always said. John, if we don't, I would even go further than that. I'm going to go further than that. And that is, we should probably start at our families. And that may sound selfish, but that was one of the reasons why I brought up that personal story of my family, right? I think we have to start at our family. Can we save, right? That is important to Fred's point. Can we not, throw our money away? And can we still have some fun and enjoy our life too, right? While my dad went too far, if you're someone who likes music, you should be able to buy and listen to some cool music because you like it. Nothing wrong with that. And are you prepared to invest? And sometimes it's not smart to invest in yourself. Sometimes it isn't. Depends on where you are in life, what's happening. Sometimes it's better to invest in somebody else. Brother, sister, uncle, son, daughter, aunt, friend even, right? Sometimes. And that's a hard thing to do because am I making the right decision or not, right? But I think that's when you start moving out of family into local, right? Stronger individuals make stronger families make stronger communities make stronger organizations. I think that's the key. You tell me if I'm wrong if you want to. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe, WYSL Rochester, New York. Sharpe Radio. Back with your calls and your chat. I see you guys. Keep giving me stuff. I will get to you after the break.
Welcome, Olean.
WYSL.
Proud to be your local talk station for great conservative, all-American programming.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. Cloudy skies, maybe a little touch of fog, temps in the 40s and low 50s on Wednesday. A few morning clouds, then we'll see some sunshine. A nice day in the 60s to near 70, cooler by Lake Ontario. Another nice day coming up on Thursday with some sunshine, with temperatures generally in the 60s, again a little cooler, closer to the lake. I'm Rich Canilia, WYSL.
It's never too early to get ready for good weather and good times with your new ride from Victor Chevrolet. Now, lease a 2024 Chevy Trax 1 RS front-wheel drive. Just $219 a month for 24 months. Get the all-weather safety and capability of a 2024 Chevy Silverado LT Crew Cab for just $359 a month for 24 months. And then there's the 24 Chevy Equinox all-wheel drive LT. Only $249 a month for 27 months. $2,500 cash or trade equity. Tier 1 credit approval. Lessee responsible for repairs and maintenance. Must have lease and household for all these lease deals. Conditions apply. Get details at dealer. All factory rebates, incentives, and discounts apply. Whether you drive a Chevy or not, you can always trust your vehicle to our Chevy Certified Service Department. And check out our great used vehicle inventory too. Come see how easy it is to do business with us. Together, let's drive at Victor Chevrolet, Route 96 in Victor. Visit VictorChevrolet.com.
It was 1949. The National Basketball Association was formed, the George Eastman residence was turned into a museum, and a very fiery woman named Mary Cariola, armed with a big heart and even bigger plans, founded what today is the Mary Cariola Center. Today, the agency celebrates its 75th anniversary, and they're looking for your help to continue the mission of educating and caring for children and youth with intellectual developmental disabilities. Hey, join the celebration. Consider a donation for the anniversary. $75 for 75 years. Please visit marycariola.org and click on donate. And let's keep this agency going for another 75 years.
Introducing a sobering and unavoidable truth. The latest advancements in artificial intelligence have made cyber attacks easier than ever before. Cyber criminals are relentlessly targeting your business right now, seeking the tiniest opening in your defenses to drain your accounts and steal sensitive data. Your finances and your customers' trust are on the line. Call
Okay, we
the
have Mike
experts
from
at Simple
Rochester.
Tech Innovations now at
You're welcome.
585-999-TECH to secure your business today. Don't wait until it's too late. Make the call today. 585-999-TECH.
It's post time. The Kentucky Derby is Saturday, May 4th. Advanced wagering's available on May 3rd. Be sure to watch, wager, and win at your local OTB or EasyBet or online at BataviaBets.com. Visit WesternOTB.com for a location near you. You can also check out the Derby parties at Batavia Downs Gaming. See their Facebook page for details. That's the Kentucky Derby at OTB.
Batavia Down with more, lots more.
Geneseo Hardware and Rental has all your project needs, from inside to outside, underground or in the air. Newly expanded inventory, lawn, garden, paint, home goods, plus a wide range of rental items. Geneseo Hardware offers screen and window repair. Voted best hardware store in Livingston County. Open daily, including Sundays. Geneseo Hardware and Rental, Route 28 next to Wegmans Plaza, just minutes from Canisius Lake.
Inside the Taylor Laboratories.
Hey, Tony, what you doing?
A little experiment, Zach. Look what I have under the microscope.
Ugh, what's that?
A sample of indoor air.
How can it be that dirty? Don't AC and furnace filters help?
Only with dust, Zach. But when Taylor installs a whole house APCO air purifier to detox the air, odors, chemicals, mold, bacteria, and viruses are removed.
For clean indoor air.
Yep, ain't science awesome?
Taylor, 500 help.
Just in time for warmer weather, All Seasons Wine and Spirits in Avon has the latest varieties of seltzers and ciders. White Claw, High Noon, Three Brothers, Sunny D Vodka, Malibu cocktails, and more. Great for parties or taking a cooler on the go. Mention WYSL, buy 3 or more packs, and save 5%. All Seasons is open daily, including Sunday 10 to 6. Voted best liquor store in Livingston County 2 years in a row. All Seasons Wine and Spirits, East Main Street, Avon.
Sharpe Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes. It is Larry Sharpe, WYSL, Rochester, New York, Sharpe Radio. So happy to have you with me this afternoon. 585-346-3000 is the number. We're talking a lot about focusing on what's important, family, locally, state, nation, and not being distracted. I'm going to grab a call if I could. This is Mike. Mike, how are you, sir?
Larry, pretty good. Hey, being somebody roughly of the same age as we're pretty close in age, and coming back.
I'm 29. What are you talking about?
Being old. But what I want to get my point is, being those latchkey kids and being the older generation, compared to now, what happened is our educational system has drilled out of our youth over the decades of being an individual, and individualism and being more self-reliant and self-sustaining to be this communist collective, of relying on the state, relying on this socialism, to put it in a simple term.
Well, there's something I've often said, Mike, right? And I think a lot of this started because of urbanism more than anything else, but for many reasons. When people live in big cities, when that begins to happen, the communities begin to break down because people are now more transient. So these aren't people who've lived here for many years or for generations. People become more transient. Cultures don't connect as well. So we scream and cry for a referee. And what we've cried for usually has been government. So we ask for government to become a referee in cities, and that begins to spread out outside. And then we want more and more referees. And the problem is, to your point, as you add government, you by default remove community. That's how it works. Things need to be solved. People have problems. People get, dropped. People drop the ball. People make mistakes. People get unlucky. Bad things happen. But what's supposed to happen is your family/community is there to pick you up, to help you out, to get you going. But when we spend so much time, to your point, with government, the community kind of forgets how and even doesn't do it.
Well, you just made that point. Thanks, Larry.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. Yes, I'm with you. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for the call. I think Mike's correct, right? And to be clear, some people think, well, Larry, you're libertarian. You just want people to be on their own. And what Mike said was be an individual. That doesn't mean you don't care, right? If you're a stronger individual, I am better capable of helping others, right? An example I give is many people who will say, Larry, I can't go make money. I have to go help this person, that person. Well, it's actually a problem that we have here in America. It's across the world, but heavily in America. It's the idea of a caretaker getting sick. What do I mean by that? People want to take care of their elderly parent, or maybe their significant other, their spouse, girlfriend or boyfriend. And they spend so much time taking care of that person, they sacrifice their own health. And now what happens when they're not knocked out? Well, now no one has help. They don't have help, and the person doesn't have help. But if they can make sure their health is still strong, now you can help more. You can help others. So Mike is correct. Just because I become independent doesn't mean I don't want to help others. In fact, I would argue the stronger our communities, the more help we can actually give, because communities will do better. So yeah, some of them, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just agreed with you so completely. I just wanted to cover it. You had a great point. So let me grab a couple more comments if I could. I have so many of these comments. I appreciate you guys who are popping in here. So Ross says, Larry, are the libertarians going to support RFK Jr.? I do not think though. No, I'm going to go with a no on that. I mean, you never know. Things could happen. It's possible, but I would not bet on that. I do not think that's going to happen at all. I think libertarians will select their own candidate coming up here next month. It'll be a separate candidate running side by side against RFK Jr. I do not think they will be doing that. Again, you never know. Crazy's going to happen. I would not bet on if I were you, my friend. I would not. Austin says, in Kentucky, healthcare and education are the top two distractions when there are other issues that have more importance than those two. Huh. I think those are kind of important. I'm confused by that one. I think that's kind of important. I'm confused by that one. Patty says, focusing on the family isn't a cool talking point. Dividing people over every little idiosyncrasy and viewpoint is the only way to get votes. Patty, you have brought a very important point to light. We spend so much time creating left, right, us versus them paradigms that it literally destroys our family unit. I've never seen it like this before. Never. We don't date because someone is a conservative or a liberal. We don't have friends because someone is conservative or liberal. We don't go over their house for Thanksgiving because someone is conservative or liberal. Or worse, to your point even deeper, because they take a stance on the Ukraine war, or they take a stance on the Israeli-Hamas war. They take a stance on these wars, and now I can't talk to you because it isn't my stance. So I can't talk to you now. I can't be your friend. In fact, if I'm your brother, and Ross has brought up the RFK thing. Now, whether you support RFK or not my issue. His family went against him in a video for Joe Biden. And you might go, wow, that means RFK is a bad guy. No, that means his family is completely screwed. That's what that means. I don't mean to be mean. I'm just saying the truth. Now, if you don't support him, great, don't support him. I'm a libertarian. And what if my daughter decides to run for office and she wants to be a socialist or something, or a communist or something, right? Whatever. Not what I want, not what I would agree with. But would I make a video with the person running against her saying that she's bad? No. I would say, my daughter and I disagree on many things. I love my daughter. Good luck. That's all I would say, even though I would not see eye to eye to her on many issues. So these are two perfect comments, guys. I got to tell you, my chat is brilliant. You guys are brilliant. Patty, you're exactly right. Exactly what Ross said too. We should not be breaking up our families because I take a view on something you don't like. That's crazy. I can still think you're wrong, but wow. And Patty goes on to say, people need to have hard discussions and safely voice their viewpoints, like here. Aw. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. Nate says, New York needs to focus more on equality and inclusion on the ballot than the workplace. New York needs to focus more on letting people keep their income rather than taking it. More innovation, less regulation. Yes, yes, and yes. All three of those, Nate. And the funny part is, the opposite of what you said really is part of culture war, and also allows the state to act like it's doing something and to feel good about something, but to achieving nothing. That's the key, right? If I say, I'm going to pass a law or a rule or regulation, I'm doing something, Nate. Look, I obviously care because I'm doing stuff. See? And now when I run, I can say, I did things. See? But did I fix anything? No. Am I still grifting? Yeah, of course. And that's the problem, and we don't see it. This goes back to what I talked about. Focus on the right things. The other things are important. Look, is it important for people to have a fair shot in a workplace? Of course. Yes. We should go out of our way to make sure that's true. Of course we should. But does that mean now I should focus only on that and not worry that our entire election system is broken? Yeah. Yeah. So that's all. So Harold goes on to say, hate to say it, but the Amish seem to be the only ones who have it together and how to live their life like we all should be able to do. Well, to be forward, as a libertarian, many people in the Amish world are very much socialists. Many of them are. But I don't mind because it's voluntary. If you want to live that lifestyle, you should be able to. Remember, socialists can create communes in a libertarian world. You want to do that? Good on you. I hope it works. Good luck. But in the opposite, libertarians go to camps. That's not how that works. It does not work well at all. Another Nate, not the last one, different Nate. RFK Jr. voters are about to encounter the same slings and arrows that libertarians usually get. Example, you're throwing your vote away. You help Trump or Biden win. 100% yes. Yes. All I can say to you RFK supporters, welcome. Now you're in my world. There we go. Welcome. 100%. I hope you're able to withstand all of those slings and arrows that we have already dealt with all the time. Legacy Zach says, the answer to any question is whatever your little heart desires. I want to tell you, that part of the book/movie 1984, which talks about what is 2 plus 2. Some of you may remember that book or that movie. I actually enjoyed the movie too. And there was a song by the Eurythmics, 1984, also back in the 80s, obviously, when it came out. But when it came out, the book and the movie, there's a part where they're trying to get the protagonist to say that 2 plus 2 is 5. And he's like, well, it's 4. And then when he says it's 4, he's like, it's 5. He's like, no. It could be 4. What? And his point was, to your point, Zach, 2 plus 2 is whatever the party says it is. That's what 2 plus 2 is. If the party says 8, it's 8. It says 3, it's 3. It's whatever the party says, and the party changes it. It was never changed. It's a great point. 1984, oh my God. Larry Sharpe here, Sharpe Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York. You can reach out and tell me what you think. 585-346-3000. Back with your calls and more of the chat. You guys keep chatting up. I appreciate it. After the break.
Introducing a sobering and unavoidable truth. The latest advancements in artificial intelligence have made cyber attacks easier than ever before. Cyber criminals are relentlessly targeting your business.
Okay, we have
now,
Keith from Rochester on the line.
In your defenses to drain your accounts.
And then on hold we have Roger. So after you're done with Keith, just give me like 10 seconds to put Roger in.
Call
Thanks.
the experts at Simple Tech Innovations now at 585-999-TECH to secure your business today. Don't wait until it's too late. Make the call today. 585-999-TECH.
While many local collision and repair shops have been gobbled up by national chains with their impersonal touch, Flower City Collision remains locally owned and operated. The shop was started by a local veteran who taught his son Zach the basics in customer service and providing customers value. Flower City doesn't work with a specific insurance company. They want to be your advocate. If you need a repair, reach out to Zach at Flower City Collision in Henrietta. He will work with your national insurance company on your local behalf to ensure Flower City doesn't work repair with a specific insurance company.
Avon Gun and Hunting Supply, a locally owned and operated gun shop here for your hunting needs. With changes in New York State laws, they'll work with you to fulfill your needs. Open from 10 a.m. Tuesday through Saturday, Avon Gun, East Main Street, next to Tompkins Community Bank.
Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten Free Bakery has a great deal on Tuesdays. A large 4-topping pizza for $18, regular or gluten-free. Call 226-9575. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Livingston County Pizza Company and Gluten Free Bakery in Avon.
Sharpe Radio on the WYSL stations.
Oh, yes. It is Larry Sharpe here on Sharpe Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York. So happy that you're giving me a small chunk of your afternoon. We have been talking about New York State, not focusing on what actually matters, distracting us and our families and our communities, solving nothing, and I guess trying to feel good, something like that. I don't know. Not working well. Let me grab a call if I could. This is Keith. Keith, how are you, sir?
I'm okay. Hopefully you are too. Politely, with time running out, I just have to know that you're still too optimistic in this case about our young people. You mentioned Ukraine, but not Israeli-Palestinian, having to do with October 7th, because out of their ignorance, many young people don't even know that October 7th took place. And for many of them, if it's not on TikTok, they don't find out about it. The Chinese won't tell them about that. And out of the arrogance of our young people, they simply refuse to believe it. October 7th even took place, or else they side that adamantly with Hamas. And just this morning, I heard that young people are saying, oh, October 7th is all AI. It's all improvised and false. It's all Israeli propaganda. So to wrap this up here, these young people, apart from the professional antagonists, are going to be our future leaders. And I want the audience to know, if you think it's bad now on these campuses, 5 to 10 years out, this growing intransigence on our young people, that they are adamant that they want this new social order, I'm very fearful in the next 20 years, as these young people move into leadership positions, which they will, we could have an entire undoing of the great American experiment. Someone is going to have to tell me in closing how we pull our young people back from the brink, that they're just so stupid and idiotic today. They know nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. That they're not being taught anything. It used to be called seat time in school. Trust me, Mr. Sharpe, they are that ignorant. So when these people get in, as they grow into leadership positions, our country's going to change drastically, and the family unit and everything you've been talking about today, I think it really does go out the window. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Keith. Let me touch a couple of things. I think Keith has a valid concern, which is that a lot of the youth are getting their news from TikTok and X and social media. It's true. It's true. So I think if we have a freer social media, we have a better chance of getting better news. I think that's true. And the other piece I want to bring up here is
another call on hold.
If you give people more ownership, I think that's the answer. Most of the youth don't own anything. They rent everything. They have no ownership of anything. You give people ownership, I think they'll care more about private property. I think they'll start caring more about the market. They'll start caring more about how things work in their communities if you give them more ownership. That would be my best answer, Keith. It is and yes, I'm an optimist. Guilty as charged. Let me grab another call if I could. I'm going to grab Roger. Roger, how are you, sir?
Good. So I'm going to read this real quick. Larry, I would like to take what you said with your family and apply it federally. Your dad is Congress, while your mother represents Americans who desperately need help, as we are suffering from a healthcare crisis because of things like allowing bad things into our food and ineffective, dangerous medicines distributed into the population, because pharmaceutical and food industry types have infiltrated the FDA to weaken it from effectively doing its job, and the health industry that takes your money but won't help you in your time of need. The outsourcing of our manufacturing base, which has led to an income inequality gap crisis that has led to a crisis of homelessness, student loan debt, credit card debt, and auto loan debt. But Daddy Congress says, no, we can't do any of those things that would help you. Instead, we must spend and send American dollars to fund our pet projects, like sending weapons and your money to Ukraine and Israel while we're suffering here. Ask yourself the question, is it wise for Congress to want to put us in a war with Russia, China, and Iran against three big superpowers while military recruitment is at record lows because Zoomers seeing what happened to their elder sibling millennials being lied into the Iraq war, and they are like, nope, not enlisting. Then also depleting our weapons stockpile faster than it can be replenished, as they're sending weapons to Ukraine and Israel. When that war does happen with these three countries, we will have too few willing to serve with too few weapons. But here's the twist. We outsource our manufacturing base to China. all those circuit boards and components that go into those guidance systems, circuit boards that go into our weapons and military system are all manufactured in China. All China has to do is flip a switch and the supply chain gets cut. War ended. We saw it happen during the COVID lockdown. That's it.
Wow. You said a lot on that one. That was good. I like that one, Roger. You said a lot in that one. Look, it's hard for me to argue with both of that. I will just let you know that I agree we've got to fix it. Our young people have to care more. We shouldn't be. Every time someone gets mad about, oh, you socialist, blah, blah, blah. If you got money to send overseas, how come we can't help people in America? I mean, they're right when they say that. I say let's help Americans. If we're going to invest, as I said before, we got to invest in America and or Americans. I like the idea of investing in both. I am with you. We got one more call. It's Dan. How are you?
Excellent. How are you doing? Yeah, Roger's got a lot of great points. Smart man. In regards to the protests and on the campuses, those kids are way more educated than the vast majority of people who are banging the drum to let Israel have its way. Way more educated and a lot less encumbered by the propaganda that seems to rue the day. That's all I got to say.
No, Dan, I appreciate it. Look, the reality of it is the people who are anti-war aren't always anti the countries in war. They sometimes are, don't get me wrong. There are people who hate Israel, of course. There are people who just hate war and everything in between. And I'm not against them getting their news from the internet at all, from social media. What I want is a freer social media. Keith's point of China deciding what they see on TikTok, that's a valid worry, right? That's not an invalid worry. But I'd rather them be able to get it from TikTok and Instagram and X and Facebook and all of them, YouTube, versus just having to watch CNN or Fox, right? Because that's corporate media. And to your point, Dan, they're only going to get a corporate viewpoint if they watch that. That's all they get is corporate viewpoint. I'm not against you watching that stuff. I watch it too. I'm not 29. I'm a tad older. I was raised in the 60s and 50s, and the 60s and 70s. So you know how old I am. So I still watch corporate news too, but I also watch stuff on YouTube and X and Facebook and all the things. I do think they are more, I'm not sure if I would say educated, Dan. What I would say is they're more informed. I'm not sure this is always the same. Depends upon who that is. They have more access to information than most of us had when we grew up, right? If you're 18, 19 now, you have access to a whole lot more information than I did when I was 18, 19. The question is, where are you getting it from? And are you able to critically think? Dan, that is my worry. And I think Keith's worries too. Are they able to critically think? And I don't know if they are, to be forward. I don't know. And then 20 years from now, I think we'll find out. But if you notice my point, I didn't take a side. I just said focus on what matters. That's what matters to me more than anything else. I hope I'm right. Guys, thank you so much for giving me a chunk of your afternoon. I will see you all very soon.